At my own dinner table, my father spit out hateful words across the plates. "You and your kid are nothing but leeches sucking this family dry." My mother smiled, nodding like she had been waiting to hear that her whole life. The cruel joke was that they were eating food from my kitchen, sitting in the house I paid for. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just looked at them and said, "You have 24 hours to leave." The silence that followed was loud. But what they didn't know was that I had been getting ready for this moment long before that night. I should probably tell you, my family never looked broken from the outside. We were the kind of family that smiled too much in Christmas pictures, the kind neighbors thought was perfect. My mom baked pies for church events. My dad shook hands like a politician at barbecues. And my brother, oh, my brother, he was the golden child. Every story circled back to Knox, his big dreams, his new projects. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, the backup plan, the one expected to fix things when they fell apart. That dinner didn't just happen out of nowhere. It was built over years, piece by piece, from 1,000 small hurts. I remember being a kid, standing barefoot on the cold kitchen floor, watching my mom hum while stirring chili. She smelled like cinnamon and laundry soap. She looked ordinary, but every look carried a rule. Don't make trouble, don't question anything, family first, even if that means you come last. That rule became my prison. By the time I was 16, I already knew my place. Knox could crash a car and Dad would laugh. Boys will be boys. I'd get an A- in physics and Mom would sigh, "Don't be so hard on yourself, Nova. Not everyone can shine like Knox." I used to lie in bed at night, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling, wondering if anyone saw me for who I was, not just what I gave up for them. 10 years later, I had a son of my own. Asher, my anchor, my proof that life could be better. He's 12 now, smart, kind, still young enough to believe in people. The night he was born, wrapped in white hospital sheets, holding my finger with his tiny hand, I made a silent promise. I would never let him feel invisible. Maybe that's why that dinner hit so hard. He was upstairs, probably listening through the floor as his grandfather insulted me and his grandmother stayed quiet. What kind of example was I setting if I let that poison touch him too? The house they insulted me in was mine. I worked for it. Long nights at the office, code reviews that lasted till morning, endless meetings where I had to prove twice as much just to be respected. I built that home through sacrifices they never even cared to ask about. Yet there they sat, eating off my plates, drinking from my glasses, acting like they were owed everything I had worked for. And it wasn't the first time. The calls always came. "Can you help with rent this month? Your dad's truck broke down again. Knox just needs a little investment money, he's this close to success." At first, I told myself it was temporary. Family helping family. But temporary became routine. Routine became duty. And duty became chains. I started to notice the tone in Mom's voice, tight, practiced, like she had rehearsed before calling. Dad didn't ask, he demanded. And Knox. He never called himself. He let them do the begging while he chased the same useless dream he'd had since college. Still, I said yes again and again because saying no made me feel selfish. Every time I said, "This is the last time," it never was. That's the truth you need to understand. When you see someone like me look her father in the eye and tell him he has 24 hours to leave, it's not about sudden courage. It's about years of pressure finally breaking through. What broke that night wasn't my temper, it was my patience. The breaking point didn't explode all at once. It crept in slowly, like a cold draft under a locked door. You don't notice it at first, but over time, the chill spreads everywhere. It began with a phone call. My mom's name flashed on the screen just as I was shutting down my laptop at work. For a moment, I hesitated. Calls from her were never good news. Still, I answered, hoping maybe this time it would just be a normal chat. Her voice trembled, but I knew the tone, the act she had practiced. "Nova," she said, "your father needs surgery. They say his heart might fail if we don't act soon. And the house, we're behind. 300,000. The bank might take it." I pressed my fingers against the window, watching the city lights blur. I wanted to believe her, but I had heard this before. Big numbers, vague stories, always ending with the same thing. "Help us. I'll host dinner." I said finally. Bring Dad. Bring Knox. We'll talk. All of us. She went quiet for a moment, like she hadn't expected me to want a face-to-face talk, but then she agreed. That night, after Asher went to bed, I sat at my kitchen table and wrote down rules on a sticky note. No attacks on my kid, no money talk, end the meeting if needed. I tucked it under my plate like it could protect me. Still, doubt stayed in my chest, heavy and alive. I called Tessa, my friend who had helped me through every hard time since college. We met at our usual spot, the coffee shop on 6th Street, by the window. She was already twirling a pencil between her fingers when I arrived. They're lying, she said flatly after I told her everything. Maybe not, I said weakly. Nova, come on. No paperwork, no numbers, no hospital bills. They want handouts. You can't keep giving to people who'd let you bleed out. Her words stung because I knew she was right. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Record the dinner. Texas is one-party consent. If it gets ugly, you'll have proof. Don't let them twist your story again. I nodded, my stomach tight, and promised myself I'd do it. The next day moved painfully slow. My nerves were on edge. Every tick of the clock sounded louder than before. When evening came, I set the table with perfect care. 4 plates, 4 glasses, napkins folded into neat squares. Outside, the pool shimmered under the porch light, still and quiet, like it was waiting too. Asher sat on the couch with his homework spread out in front of him like a shield. I bent down and brushed a strand of hair off his forehead. Tonight's a grown-up night, I told him. You're staying with Harper. No arguing. He rolled his eyes but nodded, used to sudden plans like this. Then the knock came, heavy, like a stone hitting my chest. My mom walked in first, her arms full of barbecue, acting like it was just another family dinner. My dad followed, smaller than I remembered, but his eyes still sharp. Knox came in last, phone buzzing in his hand, a smirk on his face like he already knew he'd win. We sat in silence for a moment before my mom started talking about old birthdays, old neighbors, her potato salad recipe, the usual small talk to soften me up. But I wasn't falling for it. Let's see the paperwork, I said. The hospital bills, the bank letters. Show me what's going on. Her smile faded. My dad's eyes darted away. Knox shifted uncomfortably. There isn't paperwork, my mom said, her voice suddenly tight. You'll just have to trust us. That word, trust, hit like a slap. Trust us when we spent your college fund. Trust us when Knox's business failed. Trust us when you worked 2 jobs to cover our bills. It was the same story again. Knox jumped in, talking fast about his new project. It's going to change the world, Nova. Augmented reality, you're in tech, you understand. We just need a little help to get started. I stared at him, my jaw tight. He was using my own success against me like it was bait. Then my father snapped. He slammed his hand on the table, making the silverware rattle. You make $350 a year, Nova. How can you sit there and watch your family drown? My mother's tone softened, but her words were sharper. Asher's a wilder too. Don't you want him to know where he comes from? That almost broke me. Bringing my son into their mess, their lies, their endless taking. My hands shook under the table, but my voice came out calm. No. I won't sacrifice my son's future to fix your mistakes. Not again. Knox scoffed, twisting his face. You're just playing the victim. You got lucky, that's all. Some of us have vision. Some of us just scrape by. The room spun around me. My mother's eyes turned cold. My father's fists clenched. Their voices rose together, anger, guilt, shame, and then Knox slipped. His words came out before he could stop them. The debt, most of it's mine. Mom and Dad just backed me up. Everything went still. My mom's face turned pale. My dad looked away. And in that moment, I knew it had never been about a house or a surgery. It was always about Knox. My mother's eyes flared with anger. If you don't help, she hissed, I'll tell everyone what kind of daughter you are. I'll drag Asher into it if I have to. The threat froze me. She was willing to use my child. That's when something in me locked into place. Cold, clear, final. You have 24 hours, I said again, my voice steady as stone. The silence that followed was heavier than a scream. And in that silence, I finally understood. This wasn't just a family argument. It was war. After they stormed out, the house felt too quiet, not peaceful, but empty. I could hear the faint hum of the fridge, the ticking of the clock, but it all sounded sharp, cutting into me. I carried their untouched plates to the sink, one by one. Each clink of porcelain against steel reminded me how much of myself I had wasted trying to hold this family together. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, I felt grief, not for them, but for the illusion I'd kept alive for so long. Upstairs, Asher's room light was still on. He had come home from Harper's just before they left. He was sitting cross-legged on his bed, drawing rockets in his notebook. When I walked in, he didn't look up. "Did they leave?" he asked quietly. "Yes," I said. "For good." I paused. "We'll see." He didn't answer, just kept sketching, a rocket ship with flames shooting from the base. I kissed the top of his head, keeping my voice steady. "You don't have to worry. I've got us." But deep down, I knew those words were as much for me as they were for him. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Not calls. Notifications. My stomach dropped when I saw why. Tick-tock. My mother was in full drama mode, tears sliding perfectly down her face. She cried into the camera about her cold-hearted daughter who had abandoned her parents when they needed her most. She even showed photos of me and Asher in front of our West Austin house, using them like proof of how selfish I was. The hashtags were cruel, ungrateful, daughter, family, traitor, heartless. I scrolled through the comments until my hands started to shake. Strangers judged me like they knew everything. Some felt sorry for my parents, others attacked me. How could she do that to her own family? Poor Dad. That boy deserves better. That boy, Asher. My chest tightened. If she dragged him into this mess, he'd be embarrassed at school before he even understood what betrayal meant. By lunch, the video had over 100,000 views. By dinner, 500,000. My coworkers kept glancing at me, whispers following like shadows. My manager called me in, his voice soft but probing. "Is everything okay at home, Nova? Do we need to be aware of any issues?" I forced a smile and lied that it was under control. Inside, I was on fire. Tessa didn't wait for me to reach out. She pulled me into our usual cafe booth, her laptop open. "Save everything," she said firmly. "Screenshots, links, timestamps. This isn't drama anymore. It's defamation." Her tone was calm but sharp. "They want to destroy your name. Then fight with proof." So I did. I saved every bit of evidence, the video, comments, emails. By the end of the night, I had a folder named Case. It felt cold and robotic, but also like armor. The next few days blurred. My father texted, begging for a small bridge loan. Knox posted his own videos, twisting the story into one where I had crushed his dreams for years. My mother added more fake tears, talking about my divorce and Asher's broken family. But in the middle of all that chaos, Maren called, my real estate lawyer. Her calm voice cut through everything. "There's a clause in your parents' mortgage," she said. "They refinanced 2 years ago. It's in default. The bank can sell to any qualified buyer without their permission. If you want that house, Nova, this is your chance." For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. Finally, a way forward, not just defense. I didn't hesitate. I gathered my documents and told Maren to move forward. Within days, the sale began. The East Austin house, the same one where my college fund had disappeared into Knox's big dream, was about to be mine. It wasn't just property. It was justice. When the papers cleared, Maren sent official notices. My parents and Knox had 24 hours to move out or face legal action. She also sent a cease and desist letter to my mother about the TikTok videos. Knox exploded in anger, his messages full of insults, calling me a traitor. My father tried bargaining, offering partial payments he couldn't make. My mother doubled down online, pushed by her followers. But her noise didn't cut like before. I hired cleaners, changed the locks, and walked through the house like a surgeon reopening an old wound. The air smelled of dust and regret. In the attic, the crew found a small box hidden under old Christmas decorations. Inside was my grandfather's original will, bank papers, and a letter addressed to me. My breath caught as I opened it. His handwriting trembled but was clear. The money is for Nova's education. No one else's dreams. No one else's debts. Tears blurred my eyes. Proof. Real proof. After all the years they called me selfish, I finally had the truth. I added it to my folder. My armor grew stronger. Meanwhile, Asher tried to stay normal. Basketball, science projects, his telescope aimed at the stars. But he heard the whispers at school. One night he asked quietly, "Why does Grandma hate us?" My throat tightened. "She doesn't hate you," I said softly. "She just made choices that hurt us. And when people hurt, sometimes they want to drag others down too." He nodded, thoughtful for his age, then went back to drawing rockets, his pencil scratching like it could erase the tension in the air. That night, I sat alone on the back porch, staring at the still pool. I thought about every sacrifice, every line I had let them cross, and I realized, I was done. My mother wanted to control the story. My brother wanted to rewrite it. My father wanted to guilt me into silence. But I finally had something they couldn't twist, the truth, written in ink by the only person who had ever believed in me. Next time they came for me, I'd be ready. Not with kindness, with evidence, with facts, with the strength built from every wound they gave me. Airports are strange places for endings. Most people think they're for beginnings, honeymoons, jobs, returns. But for me, the Austin terminal felt like a courtroom. Their flight landed late in the afternoon. I stood just beyond the security rope, Marin beside me, a folder tucked under her arm. The smell of fried food and jet fuel filled the air. A TV above played muted news. All I could hear was the steady, heavy thud of my heartbeat. First came Knox, walking off the plane like a man who thought he had won, his phone already in his hand, a small smirk on his face. Behind him, my mom carried a travel pillow, her face showing fake tiredness like she had practiced it all flight. My dad followed last, moving slower now, but his eyes sharp and watchful. They saw me right away. My mom's face lit up, not with love, but with the joy of someone ready to twist the knife. She stepped forward. "Nova, thank God you're here. We knew you'd come around." I didn't move. Marin stepped ahead, calm and firm, handing them 3 clean envelopes. "Consider yourselves served." Confusion spread across their faces. Knox ripped his open first, reading quickly until his face went pale. He looked up, his voice sharp, cutting through the quiet airport. "You bought the house?" "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "It's mine now. You have no legal claim. If you don't leave by the deadline, the sheriff will make you." My father's jaw tightened. My mother blinked in shock. People around us slowed down, watching. A small boy pulled his mom's sleeve and whispered, "What's happening?" Knox's voice grew louder, trying to take control. "You're a thief. You've been jealous of me since day one, always trying to ruin me." I stepped closer, my voice calm but sharp. "You mean since you stole my college fund? Since you promised everything and left me sleeping on floors while you played genius?" Gasps came from strangers nearby. They didn't know the story, but they felt the truth in it. Knox tried to stare me down, but his eyes moved away. My mom jumped in, her voice shaking just enough to sound real. "We did it for the family, Nova. For you. You've become so cold. We just wanted to survive." I pulled a folded letter from my bag, the one my grandfather wrote me. I held it up, the paper old but steady in my hand. "This was never yours to spend. He left it for me, for my education. You turned his trust into your excuse." For once, her fake tears stopped before they could fall. My dad stepped forward, his voice loud and angry. "That's enough. You don't humiliate your family in public." I straightened my shoulders. "You did that yourselves. Every lie, every debt, every threat to drag my son into your mess, it ends today." Something in his eyes cracked. Not guilt yet, but fear. fear of something he'd never seen in me before, my refusal to bend. Maren spoke again, her voice cool and clear. You've been officially notified. Any contact outside legal channels will be seen as harassment. Breaking this order will bring immediate action. A circle had formed around us, strangers pretending not to watch while recording with their phones. The shame they once used against me now belonged to them. Knox shouted, his voice shaking with anger. You'll regret this. You think you're better than us just because you got lucky? You're nothing without family. I stepped closer, my voice quiet but sharp. I already am better, because I chose not to become you. His face twisted with rage, but he didn't move. He wasn't brave enough with cameras around. My mom tried one last time, her voice breaking. Please, Nova, don't do this. We'll lose everything. I met her eyes and felt nothing. No anger, no pity, just freedom. So did I. When you took it from me at 18. Now it's your turn to face the cost. The silence that followed felt like the ground splitting open. My dad's shoulders sank. My mom's face fell apart. Knox stood frozen, trembling. Security arrived, drawn by the shouting. Maren explained calmly, handing over papers with practiced ease. The officers nodded, their presence ending the scene like a judge's gavel. As my family was led toward baggage claim, my mom looked back, searching my face for even a hint of weakness. She found none. I stood firm, my hands steady, my breathing even. For the first time, the weight wasn't mine, it was theirs. When the crowd finally left, I sat on a bench, my body shaking from adrenaline. Maren sat beside me, gently placing her hand on my shoulder. You did it, she said softly. But I knew it wasn't really over. Public fights leave marks. Reputations don't fade quietly. And even though I wanted this to be the end, I could already sense what was coming next. Still, for that moment, in the noisy chaos of the airport, I let myself feel something I hadn't in years. Victory. Not the kind with parties or champagne, but the kind that comes from surviving a war you never asked for and realizing you finally held the power. As I walked out into the Texas sunlight, my phone buzzing in my pocket, I thought of Asher, his rockets, his quiet strength. And I promised myself, no matter what storm came next, I'd face it with the same calm strength. Because now I knew I could win. The days after the airport felt strange, like walking into a house where all the furniture had been moved. Everything looked the same, but it all felt different. For the first time in years, my phone didn't buzz with my mom's demands, Knox's pitches, or my dad's angry calls. The silence felt strange, but it didn't last. The fallout came fast. My mother posted one last video. This time, she wasn't crying or blaming me. Instead, she turned against Knox. Her voice sounded sharp and nervous as she explained how he had pulled her into his plans. She begged her followers to forgive her, saying she had gone too far. It should have felt like justice, but instead, I felt empty. When your own mother uses social media to confess her mistakes, you stop wishing for her apologies. Knox started to fall apart. His videos became strange and desperate. The confidence he once had turned into panic. He accused me of betraying him and ruining his chance at success. But the truth was clear. His startup had failed, his reputation was broken, and his parents' house was no longer his stage. Soon, even his followers lost interest. And my father, he did the one thing I never expected. He disappeared. No calls, no messages. He faded away like smoke after a fire. Meanwhile, the court case continued. Maren helped me through every step with calm focus, protecting me like a shield. The will, the IOU, and the refinance papers told a story no one could deny. The judge ruled in my favor, securing the property and keeping me safe from more harassment. I didn't get any money back, that was long gone, but the truth finally had a place on record. The East Austin house was now officially mine. I hired workers to clean it, clearing away years of dust and regret. They found broken gadgets, unopened mail, and old photo albums. I kept only one thing, my grandfather's letter. Everything else I let go. Asher came with me on the last day. We stood under the pecan tree, its branches full of late summer leaves. He looked up and said, "Can we plant one at our house?" I smiled and said, "Yes, This time we'll watch it grow together. Back home in West Austin, we dug in the backyard dirt, sweating under the Texas sun. We planted a small but strong pecan tree. Asher checked it every morning, hoping it would grow overnight. I told him what my grandfather once told me: both trees and trust take time. Life slowly found peace again. Friday taco nights returned. Homework covered the kitchen table. Laughter replaced the silence that once filled our home. I also agreed to speak to a journalist. I shared my story, not for revenge, but for others who had lived through the same pain. When the article was published, the response was huge. People from everywhere sent messages. Daughters who had been blamed, sons rejected for standing up for themselves. They told me they finally felt seen. It healed something inside me too. My pain had become proof that others could survive. One evening, while Asher worked on a science project, Tessa and I sat on the porch, cicadas buzzing around us. She sipped iced tea and said, "You could make this your purpose, helping people like you, the ones your mom tried to destroy. Turn your pain into something powerful." I thought about it, about law, advocacy, and using my scars to make change. For the first time, it felt possible. That night, I tucked Asher into bed. He slid a drawing under his pillow, a rocket flying toward Mars with bright flames and shining stars. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "You're free to dream, Ash. No one will take that from you." As I turned off the light, I realized that the real victory wasn't defeating my family. It was building one with my son, based on love, honesty, and respect. The pecan tree outside would take years to bear fruit, but it was ours. So was the future. Family should mean safety, care, and love. But sometimes, the people who share your blood are the ones who hurt you the most. I spent years holding on to their betrayal, believing that if I kept trying, they'd finally see me. They never did. And that's the truth I want you to know. Love without respect isn't love, it's control. I chose peace. I chose my son. I chose to stop saying sorry for protecting the life we built. If you've ever stood in that same painful place, between survival and family, know this: you're not alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is draw the line and never cross it again. If this story touched you or reminded you of your own, tell me in the comments. Share your story. Because when we speak, we prove that silence doesn't win. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe. It means more than you know.